Hey everyone, this is the Lone Wolf Show. I am the Lone Wolf, and
This is Munistira.
we have us a special guest today by the name of Aranon. Is it okay to call you Mr. Aranon, or how shall I address you?
Don't call me Mister, man. I don't
No,
work no more.
okay.
Ain't no
So
Mister
we'll,
after me.
so we'll
I'm
call
just
you
Aranon.
Aranon. Aranon, how
Uh,
are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Doing good, man. The weather's kind of nasty down here. We've been cooped up for 4 or 5 days with it raining. Can't get outside and do any work, so been hanging around the house.
So I'm going to get right back down to business, and I'm going to jump right into
Okay.
it. What's your involvement with witchcraft?
Witchcraft. Uh, it's kind of to make the long story short, I'm a retired military officer. Spent my life traveling the world. I was actually ordained a Christian minister at 22 years old, but shortly thereafter left the Christian faith because I had questions. And during my travels, I explored different paths, different uh, things, and wound up in an earth-based type of situation, understanding. My genetic heritage is half Native American and half Celtic European, mostly German. I connected up with some family, distant family, second cousins, when I went to Germany in the late 80s. And come to find out, they were part of the Black Forest group of witches, Hexencraft, Heathenkraft, as they call it. I was down there and got introduced. But the craft is the craft. It's kind of like, I think you had said before, the craft is kind of like an art. There's just many facets of it.
Right.
And to practice the craft is just, in my way of thinking or my way of understanding, it's just to live naturally in harmony with Mother Earth, Father Sky. Okay. The duality of that and the balance, that comes from that. I mean, everything has its opposite: up, down, left, right, backwards, forwards. And the truth of the subject is somewhere in between the opposing points. It might be on a scale way over here on one, and it might be on a scale way over here on the other. But it would depend upon the situation. And the craft work that you do, okay, seeks that balance so that you can have creation, just like nature. We all know it takes the balance of power in order to create. I mean, if you literally kick nothing but white light, fluff bunny power or energy into something, all you're going to do is just keep kicking it in, because you got 9 billion or 8 billion other people out there that are just totally miserable working against you. And if you kick nothing but dark energy into it, eventually something's going to be destroyed, and it's usually you. So you got to find that balance and transmute, the energies. So the oppositions don't cancel each other out. They work in unison for a pattern of creation.
So you found the craft with distant relatives in Germany. Was that while you were active duty?
I declared non-Christian about 6 years before I was retired. Right after I came out of the hospital, I was injured first day of Desert Storm, and spent about 20 months in the hospital afterwards, learning how to walk and talk again. I'm missing a baseball-sized chunk of my brain and a third of my guts, and back's broken in 2 places. So I'm still walking. VA's been trying to put wheels on me for 20 years now, and they still ain't succeeded. So
good for you.
Was the military supportive of your spirituality?
Yes and no. For the most part, I've always been smart enough to fly under the radar. I've never really. I learned early on you don't utter the P word or the W word in public. Okay, it's that part of witches deal, to keep silent. You just don't say pagan, and you just don't say witch, okay, or Wiccan, or any other thing that ain't Christian. Also, having been an ordained Christian minister, I learned to say, have a blessed day early on, which is what everybody else says,
Yeah.
So the two do, meld, and keep you flying under the radar. We had a situation here in our county a couple of years back where a gentleman lived just a little south of me. He had a temple and a store, and it plastered all over the side of his van. Well, he moved from out in the county to in the little city of BB down here, and the city fathers run him out of town. Didn't even take 6 months. So that was that. I told him before he moved in, I said, don't move into town, man. Stay out in the county. He wouldn't listen. So he moved in. I said, well, if you're going to move in there and get that pagan offside your van, and he moves in right across from Holy Roller Church.
So Germany,
the Carolina.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Carolina is all right. We go down there quite frequently. You said Germany, second cousins, and to that effect, what pantheon of gods and goddesses do you work with, if any?
Do I work with?
Yes.
Mother Earth. Well,
Mother Earth.
A lot of my craft ritual, okay, is either draconic, okay, dragons, or stellar, okay. Since I'm a male, positive, projective, stars, sun, stuff. But a lot of people don't understand that all of the stars in the known sky, the major stars, they all have magical energies, okay, and it's based upon, number one, their color, plus the time and the influence of the people around that discovered them and their magical capabilities. For instance, Sol Invictus, being our sun here in this solar system, grants us nothing more than strength. Okay. It's the power that powers us. It's the thing that lets us create. Okay. Our Mother Earth gives us everything we need in order to be, but without the sun, we couldn't be. So again, it takes that balance of energies between the projective and the receptive, the mother and the father. I'm an animist because everything's alive to me. I'm also what people would probably call a duotheist, just the two. I do understand that a lot of people worship pantheons of ancient civilizations that are dead, but they're just another archetype of either god or goddess. I think Stuart and Janet Farrar said it best back when they were writing their books about the witch is god and the witch is goddess, about how when mankind came up into their sophistication, that they started out trying to explain God and goddess from a stone hunter-gatherer perspective and everything that they understood, and then it got to be an agrarian and so on and so forth, and different levels through the book as the intelligence level of the communities and the civilizations grew. Okay. Zeus, Jupiter, they're all the same. They're the same god. It's just another archetype. The names are changed, for the civilization, whatever they feel like. Even the same with the ancient Babylonians, Marduk and Tiamat. Okay. It's just a god and a goddess, no matter what form they imagine them in.
I'm definitely going with that.
Especially,
oh, that makes perfect sense. Doreen Valiente wrote The Charge of the Goddess. The first name that she mentions is Isis, and Isis is just a name that represents 1,000 goddesses. So I definitely get that. You talked about you talked about draconius or dragons. Are those like as in the spiritual essence?
The dragon is nothing. Yes, the dragon in its essence is is nothing more than a spiritual expression of all of nature. Okay, so when the wind blows, the dragon is beating its wings. Okay, when the heat is on, the dragon is breathing its fire. When lightning comes down, the dragon is attacking. Any which way you yourself could interpret a natural act and ascribe it to a being. Now, there is an understanding that most people have that dragons are real. They just don't live here. They live in an alternate reality or an alternate universe. And they come here and they're like gods. Each one has a different aspect. Each one has a different kind. Or there's a different kind. There's mountain dragons, there's air dragons, there's water dragons. Just a multitude. And each of them have their own aspects or archetype as a god for doing whatever work. So if I wanted to go out and cultivate a field and grow something, I would and try pleasing an earth dragon, for instance. If I'm needing rain for my crops, I'm going to invoke cloud dragon, and so on and so forth.
Right.
I follow myself personally
for protection.
For protection. Well, damn near any, but the earth dragons are the biggest, and they're usually the ones that are around us. Dragons do tend to, after you become a bit more understanding, it has a lot to do with meditation and being able to project. I won't say exact astrally, but just to project your mentality out into the universe. They will contact you, but it may contact you and you know it as one name where I will know it as another, because we're two different people. So their energy to my energy is one set of energies, and their energy to your energy is another set of energies, which makes it manifest differently in your own reality, so to speak.
It almost sounds
I've
like
had the opportunity again.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It almost sounds like you're a practitioner of dragon magic.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds
that's right.
like.
Dragon craft or dragon magic.
Very interesting. And it's like when you said that
different people. You can't really see it back here, but I've got different things in an apothecary sitting back here on this wall. Okay. We have physical representations of the dragons that are left over. For instance, the resin of amber would be considered dragon spittle, dried dragon spittle. So amber has its magical properties, and they're the same, either way. I also learned naturopathy, herbology, and whatnot with the old names, the old folk names. So yes, I know that amber is amber, but I also know that it's dragon spittle. Okay, I know that, say for instance, mistletoe, I know that is like elf leaf. Okay, or say frankincense, olibanum, myrrh, cairn. See, it's just a difference of. I've always sought an older way. I figured that the older that I could find, the farther back in history. I think I told you the other day when we were chatting online that I seldom reference much of anything after 1960 or so. And generally, if it is, it's supported by something that I have in my documentation that's pre-1900. So.
Well, that's one way to keep the old ways alive.
Well, I mean, that's literally what it is. I follow two things. I follow the KISS principle. You understand the KISS principle? Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, right.
Nothing is that nothing is that complicated. Okay, it doesn't have to be. Once it gets complicated, then it becomes something like religion. Okay, religion is a total bane to mankind. Okay, because it's nothing but dogma and doctrine, spiritual politics. Okay, you know, so I stay away from it. I also use Occam's razor, scientific principle of whatever it is, no matter how it seems, usually the first thing that comes to mind about it is most correct without doing much research. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a damn duck, you know.
Would you agree that nature never lies to us?
Never. And absolutely, there's nothing in science that contradicts nature. In that way, I guess you could consider me a bit of a techno-pagan. But then I'm one of the overeducated fools.
I mean, what exactly is it? What is a techno-pagan? What is a techno-pagan? I thought
techno-pagan, somebody who uses science, okay?
Okay.
Somebody who understands science and magic are the same, just a different application of the same. For instance, changing the color of fire. I can take a mineral and change the color of the fire. That's techno-paganry, techno-magic.
Right.
You know, I can take strontium fluoride and turn it red. I can take calcium, calcium citrate and turn it yellow, bright yellow. I can take magnesium and turn it bright white. I can take cupric fluoride and turn it green. You know, and I do things like that sometimes.
Would that be considered alchemy?
In a way, yes. It's more along the lines of illusion, but yes, alchemy would fit. Okay, and alchemy is definitely a part of the craft, transmuting one thing to another.
Right.
I mean, we do it with our magic every day. We take the intent of our mind and transmute that energy into the form of what we wish or what we're working for. Some people call it wishcraft.
Right. Well, I think you make some really good points, you know, to keeping things simple, to going back to the primal aspects of what the craft is. I think that a lot of folks these days, you know, do try to make it so difficult. I think that's real important. That's a lot of good stuff.
There are no mysteries anymore. Okay. I mean, this is 2022, almost 2023. Okay. 2,000 years after the fact of the beginnings of recorded history. There are no more secrets. There are no mysteries. There is nothing to hide for the true seeker. Now it's up to us as leaders and as teachers and as mentors and as elders of how to give out that information, because some of it's very dangerous. Okay, when you start talking herbology, there are some 60 some odd herbs that are deadly poison. Things like belladonna, for instance, you know, or foxglove. You know, I can't even handle foxglove. I'm bionic, man. I got a heart condition, so I don't touch digitalis. Okay. But I also know that in older times, some people would actually take Jimson weed and smear it on a broomstick and straddle that thing with no underwear on and take a little flight. Okay, because it's hallucinogenic. You know, it's an hallucinogenic. You know.
Was that the flying ointment?
Yeah, that's one part of the flying ointment. Yes.
Okay.
That's it's part of history. You know, recorded history at that. You know, again, there are no secrets in the craft. Okay, except bringing things out of the darkness into the light. Okay, out of the darkness of the occult into the light of understanding and knowledge. That's the only secrets that are left. And there are quite a few people that have it, but not as many as there used to be. I mean, the elders are dying off very, very quickly. As a matter of fact, in my line of hexencraft, we just lost our Frau Teresa. We just lost her a few years back. And like Morning Glory Zell, we lost her 8 years ago, 9 years ago now. Okay. Some people are down, some people are still up. but mostly of the original crew, bringing the more modern neo-pagan, the Reconstructionists, or the bringing of people up in Wicca, they're all in their 80s and 90s, one foot in the banana peel and the other in the grave. So,
well, I mean,
I'm just another guy. I'm just another guy
right.
that's been there, done that, and got the T-shirt.
Yeah.
But I'm a collector.
Yeah.
I've got 32 terabytes of hard drive, and I've got a whole terabyte of documentation. A terabyte ain't a small amount. I've got manuscripts from Germany that have been translated from the 14, 15, and 1600s, all about craft. Most of the modern information on herbology and divination is fairly correct. Okay, but again, it's that transition from being a spiritual person and walking a spiritual path, or being on a spiritual journey yourself, versus religion, which somebody else has said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is what you have to do in this particular tradition. More people have died in the name of religion, in history than any other thing.
Right. Speaking of traditions, how and you said that most of the mysteries are gone. This is 2022. The information is there for the seeker if they seek. If that's the case, how important is initiation?
Rites of passage are important for two reasons. It's kind of like a ritual. Ritual is nothing more than getting a group of people in the same mindset. That's what ritual is all about. So say if you want to do protections, or you want to do a crossover, or you want to do a blessing, or you want to do whatever, hand fasting, it's getting the crowd together to get all of their minds and their energies sailing their ships in the same direction, so to speak. Okay. As far as secrets, well, yeah, I'm sure that there's secrets. Okay. I don't know what peculiar secrets would be so important that they would be hidden forever and ever. I know there's one group out there that claims that they've got all the Aleutian mysteries. Okay. And another one out there that says that they've got the Sumerian mysteries and whatnot. But from my understanding and my exploration, I've been through those lines and studied those backstories. Same story. God is God. Goddess is Goddess. It's just names are changed to protect the guilty, I guess, or the innocent in that case, or whatever somebody floated their boat that day. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be complicated. Okay. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. It's just that simple. Doesn't need to be complicated.
So
the Pagans on the other.
So the duck doesn't have to get her certificate to call itself a duck.
No. And as far as witch or druid, it's subjective to their understanding. But I suggest some folks go back and read the history of the Holy Roman Empire. Okay, they'll find out what is a witch with a Y and what is a druid or a druid. Okay, and the difference between the two, and why one line is matrilineal and the other is patrilineal. It's just a matter of history.
Right.
The Romans really messed up Europe when it came to that.
So compared to the 60s and 70s, pagan community, craft community was smaller than it is in modern day. In the 70s, 60s, you didn't have like TikTok witches and all these things. Because of the influx of all this, there's obviously a lot of misinformation that's floated around with the help of, social media and that kind of thing. What would be your advice to your advice be to the new seekers or the new wave that's coming through with this explosion in the country?
If you hear the same information from 3 to 5 or more sources, chances are it's true. If you're hearing it from one source, okay, walk away.
Right, I'm going with that.
People have to understand also, no matter what you think, all of nature spirituality, all of earth spirituality, all of pagan religion, it's a fertility religion. Okay, it's about creation. Okay, and there's only one way you can create. All right, and the rituals that you go through are based upon your traditions, dogma, and doctrine. So if somebody tells you that you got to do this in order to be a third degree, well, you go like, I don't think I want to do that. Doesn't mean that you're not a third degree. Okay, I can call myself 15th degree Grand High Poobah if I want. Okay,
right.
And there's some out there that are 15th degree Grand High Poobah. They got the HPS disease. Have you read that poem? Yeah, look it up. The HPS disease. Yeah, it's all about ego. And that's the main problem with our line of spirituality these days. There's too much ego. And ego stands for edging green out. Now deceased friend of mine, Father Dave Springer from down in Texas, he wrote a paper talking about ego, and he explained it as an acronym, edging green out. You take nature out of it, and it means nothing. The second you take and depart from what is natural, your spirituality means nothing. And that's the thing that I can tell most seekers is just, it's going to resonate. Okay, yeah, you may search around 2 or 3 or 4 groups and read 15 or 20 books, everything that's in writing, with a very few exceptions, is all 101 stuff. All right, it's the very basics, and just somebody else's explanation of the same thing, which is based all in usually ceremonial magic, calling the quarters and such. Okay, right. I got news for you. Them German witches don't call the quarters. Okay, it just don't happen. They go out there and they get down. Okay, they dance, they chant, you know, and they have a good time. But they get their magical workings done. And Frau Gretchen now, who is a personal friend of mine, has been for years, she's real serious about it. She's just serious about making sure that people get it straight to begin with. It's kind of like me. I mean, I'm probably in some circles an infamous, non-famous pagan, as they would say, simply because I've flown under the radar for years. But I've touched bases with all of the originals, okay, the Farrars, Janet and Stewart, Ed Fitch, Ray Buckland, and such. So, I've been with these people across time in the last 45, 50 years, and had the chance to celebrate with them. I think you just did a deal with Ian Corrigan here online. Was it showing today or tomorrow? I haven't seen the man in 25, 30 years, but we had a very interesting discussion about draconic magic 25, 30 years ago. Nice. Starwood, I believe, you know. And I've sat and watched Janet Farrar and Doreen Valente and Maureen Sanders just cackle like a bunch of old witches sitting around a fire drinking, like they were drinking mead that night. They had a gathering up in New York State some 15, 20 years ago.
So you hit Starwood up 20, 25 years ago, you know, when they first started. And that was, you know, what was that like? Was it like a reflection of the culture at the time?
It was a lot less organized. It was a lot less organized then than it is now.
Okay.
Again, it's kind of like Dragon Fest out in Colorado, which I used to go to, and some of the Council of Magical Arts gatherings down in Texas when I was stationed at Fort Hood. They started, out with nothing and wandering from place to place to place. And then finally somebody allowed them, or they found property, and things have developed since. It's the kind of same with Selena Fox and Circle Sanctuary. I mean, they've had pagan spirit gathering in 9 different places now across time, something like that, 8 or 9, and it's gone from one state to another and things like that. And they just finally settled. It's kind of like me here. I never ever thought I'd be living in Arkansas. Okay, I've escaped this Bill Clinton state 4 times in my lifetime, but I got drawn back there by family. And now that I've planted my parents, I'm too old to move. So because my parents passed on, both of them, in the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Bill Clinton.
And now I've got all of that.
You mentioned Bill Clinton, and I normally don't talk about politics. I usually don't talk about politics on the show, but I want to in the regards of, it seems to me that anytime politics is addressed or spoken about within the modern pagan community, it has the tendency to divide communities. Do you agree with that?
Very much so. Myself personally, I'm a moderate conservative and traditionalist. So I'm an American. I believe in Mom Apple Pie Chevrolet. I believe in the Constitution of the United States. And since I live here, okay, it's a perfect document. It was written by some very brilliant men, okay, who were neither Christian nor anything else, because they understood back then that you got to keep politics and what they call religion separate. Okay.
Right.
And as long as we do that, we're okay. But too many people have allowed politics to get into their spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand how someone can say, for instance, that, all right, current topic of politics, electric vehicles. We all got to go electric. Okay. Well, okay, let's see. For every vehicle, you're going to rape an entire acre of land, usually with the help of children in a foreign country. Then you're going to have to use huge machinery that's fueled by fossil fuels in order to mine the rest of the materials to get and build the silly thing. Then you're going to have to use some of that fossil fuel in order to make the plastics and other things that you're going to put into it. So what's green about that? On top of the fact you got to dispose of the damn battery 10 years now, and you have to use it like nuclear waste because it's just about as potent, So, I mean, the country just doesn't have the infrastructure to do it. All right. So it's not a good idea at this time. Not that it's not a good idea for the future. Maybe in a few years down the road where they perfected fusion power and power becomes cheap and clean. Or they figure out a way to actually start recycling the nuclear material instead of having to store it in caches or something like that. You have to understand the politics don't necessarily coincide with the science. Okay, they just don't. It's a good idea, but it's not its time. And that's, I would say, probably in the history of mankind, politics has really messed up more things than anything else, and especially when it comes to spiritual paths. Okay, it's because women own their bodies. Okay, you got the right to do anything you want to. Men own their bodies; they got the right to do anything. I mean, my God, we got guys cross wrestling in the White House now, or up in Congress. Not my bag of tea, but go on with your bad self. Just don't bother me with it. You can do anything you want, but don't start telling me you're going to legislate what I do and how I think and how I speak and how I feel, because it ain't going to happen. Okay, I was born free and I'll die free, and that means that I freely think with the brain that the gods gave me. You know, I took the time in my 66 years now to educate myself. Okay, I educated myself in the martial arts. You know, I educated myself in the military as an officer. I educated myself academically and whatnot, and have the IQ to use all of that and the brain power to go along with it to make it happen. But it's still just a simple thing. You are what you are. You believe what you believe. But there's always another piece of the story. Find it. And that's what a seeker does.
Right. Questions all
correct,
authority.
Okay. The craft is an art, okay, in a way. But it's also a practice. You have to do it. Okay. You can't just sit it back on a shelf for Sunday mornings or Saturday nights or monthly drunks under the full moon. But yeah, if you want to dance naked under a full moon, fine, go for yourself. I've done that in my past. And I'll probably do it again.
What do you feel about Freemasonry? Are there elements of Freemasonry within the craft itself?
Freemasonry. Okay. Somebody posed a question on that little piece of site I think you got up there. Ceremonial magic, Enochian ceremonial magic.
Okay.
It permeates Freemasonry. It also permeates Wiccan ritual. Okay. It even permeates some of the neo-pagan Druid rituals. All right. But that's the basis of Jewish Enochian magic. Okay. Is that basis that all of that comes from. And that's borne out by history, documented royally in many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
The craft, on the other hand, it's free form. You know, you say what you feel and how you're inspired. And it's upon the leader in the group to get all the minds in the group, all the people in the group, all of the souls or spirits in the group. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I never tend to describe things in religious terminology. So morals, religion, and such things, souls, it's spirits and ethics. Okay. To me, it's just doing what is correct and do it right the first time if you can. And if not, learn from the experience and don't commit the faux pas or mistake again. That's what life is about. It's for us to learn. That's our purpose in this life.
Right. What makes a good leader? What makes a good leader in the pagan community?
I would say that's a hard thing. You've got to be able to speak in public and to be able to communicate in a fashion that everybody around you can understand. So in some cases, you have to take a complex subject and bear it down to the 9th grade level, so to speak. Okay. But then again, you have to have the substance in order to make the form. You know, form without, or substance without form yields nothing, and vice versa. And that's what you find a lot today. You find a lot of form, but not very much substance. It all seems to be reiterating, 101 things, okay? Or I should say, the egos start to play so that, well, you're a seeker, so you can only learn this. And you're first degree, so you can only learn that. Okay. I mean, my God, I've got 4 3rd degrees, 1 5th degree. You know, I'm an elder in 3 different conditions, so to speak. So what am I going to do when somebody comes and asks me, well, how do you cast a love spell? I say, you don't. It's called free will. You know, you can't do magic against free will. Well, there's the black arts. No, there's no such thing as a black arts. The craft is gray. It's neither
going with that
white nor dark.
Yeah.
It's the
I like that.
balance.
Yeah.
You know, and the only thing that you can't do is alter free will, because we are, okay. In this essence, that book is right. Okay. We are created. We are born down on this biosphere in the image of our gods. Okay. But then again, each of us has the divine within us. So then we are our gods. Or we may be successful in life and influential in life enough to be thought of 1,000 years from now as a god. Okay. Don't, then if there's life here, there's got to be life someplace else. I mean, geez, in this galaxy alone, there's what, 300 million stars? Okay. 300 million planetary systems. The Drake equation says that there's somewhere between possibly 8 and 12 intelligent species in this galaxy alone. And that's science. So what they think and what they feel, I bet you if you could communicate with them, you'd find out spiritually, if they're spiritual beings, it's nothing more than the simple things we understand. Okay. You have to live with nature. You have to honor the mother. Okay. She gave us what we need to be. You have to honor the father. He gave us what we need to be. But one without the other just doesn't work. Okay. You've got to have both working in unison to create the balance.
Right. There's an occultic axiom that says it's hermetic, that as above it as below. Based on that, right? Based on that, do you feel like humanity created, the different pantheons of gods and goddesses, or those different pantheons of gods and goddesses created us? Like, which way is it?
All right. I'll put it to you this way. I'm of two minds. Okay. If creation is divine, then the divine creates. Okay. So that means it's either top down or bottom up. The Farrars in their books talked about the god and the goddess as mankind developed through evolution. Okay. So the first understanding of what was divine was simply what they couldn't explain. And in their limited mentality, they explained it as Ugg, for instance. And then all of a sudden, they started developing a little more intelligence. And Ugg became Ash. And then from the hunter-gatherers into the agrarian society. And then Ash became Elm. And then through up into modern society, Elm became Oak. Okay. It's a never-ending evolution. Okay. That things build upon themselves, but they only build within the human mind as far as the human mind is educated. The more the human mind, or humanity in itself, understands, okay, more the knowledge they take in, the more they can apply. And therein lies wisdom. So yes, either one or the other. Again, if I had to say, I would say that the gods occur naturally, and anything that we say about the gods is just simply from our lack of understanding of exactly what the gods are. Okay. And through different civilizations, a different way or archetype of what that piece of divinity meant to that civilization at that time. Of course, then again, there's always politics too.
You got any books? You got any books? You wrote any books?
I got any books?
Yeah.
I wrote a book about 5-6 years ago called The Witch's Cookery. It was pretty much a how to, what to. Okay. There's about 1,000 copies out there on e-print and probably about 50 more in hard copy. I'm about to here, since I've become my 27th honor I thought of the other day. I've become the editor of Witch's Brew here in recent times. I was very honored at the offering. And since I'm going to be dealing with that again, keeping the magazine published and whatnot, I'll start writing and rewriting some things. And maybe in the next few years, I'll put out a few books. But it won't be much more than what's already been put out, except maybe for the older folk names of many things. Okay. I've got a piece of that called Arcanum Nomen, which means the old names in Latin.
Right.
And that's what it is. You know, there's about, I think that list is up over 1,000 now of different things that have folk names. Eye of Bat. You know what Eye of Bat is?
Eye of Bat.
Or
I've heard this.
Eye of Newt. I'm sorry. Eye of Newt. Mustard seed.
I've heard. Man, I don't. I surrender, dude. I don't know.
Yeah. You know, Eye of Newt is mustard seed.
Oh, okay.
That's the old code name for it, so to speak. Wing of Bat. It's the fur on catkins, or like pussy willow seeds or cattails, the fuzz.
Right.
Okay. These are the old things.
Right. Now, initially that was done to protect folks, wasn't it? Wasn't that to protect people? From,
Yeah, it wasn't a way.
Oh.
Yeah, it wasn't a way, but it was also born out of regional. Okay, in my studies, I've come to understand that it comes from regional understandings of different things. Because, for instance, we call another country by the American name when it has a name. Say like Spain, we call it Spain, but it's not Spain. It's España. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So because we're in two different places describing the same thing, we have different names for it.
Yeah.
So it might be called rock in one culture and stone in another culture, when what it is a pebble. You know.
Yeah. Perception.
Perception, yes.
Maybe it's like perception.
It's all about how you perceive and what it is.
Right.
Gal, you don't talk too much, do you?
Who, myself or Monica?
You don't talk too much, do you, girl?
Oh, I
No?
do. It just depends on the show and how much Harold has to say.
Do you slap him upside the head sometimes when he plays the ball?
No, I just have to put my hand here and give me a chance. It's under the camera, so.
Yeah, we have a secret poke that we do, and that nobody can see that it's her. You know, she wants to ask a question. Do you have it?
I've asked them.
Oh, you asked them. Yeah. Well, hey, it's been a hell of a show, man. I really appreciate you coming on. It's good to have somebody that's been around the block. You definitely have humility. You come across as a practitioner. Yeah. Is there anything?
There are older ways out there. You know, there are older ways of doing things out there, despite what some people say in some traditions these days. Generally, again, if you're a seeker, try to find 5 different opinions. And if you can find 5 different opinions, the common core of that opinion is the truth, or as close to the truth you're going to get. Okay, if you become a more educated person, you can actually do the research. Okay, go to places like Library of Congress. There's really one good, sacredtext.com. It's really a good resource for a lot of spiritual stuff on a lot of different ways of thinking about religion, so to speak. And then the Smithsonian, Library of Congress. Once you learn some other foreign languages, for instance, Americans could go to the libraries in England at Oxford University. You can get access there. You'll find a lot of stuff that was published in the 1600s and 1700s about the craft. Okay, and herbology and things like that. You know, same with Australia. Stay out of Canada, man. Them people are crazy.
Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. You know, maybe have you on again. You know, it's been great.
No problem. Anytime, just let me know, man. You know, I'm getting older and I don't move so much. I just move across the parking lot a little slower. You know, they gave me this stick to prop myself up with, and I'm like I said, I'm bionic. I'm wired these days. So if the old heart, the old ticker quits, it'll hit me until they get me to the hospital and see if they can keep it from busting wide open, I suppose. But other than that, yeah, word to the wise, keep it simple. Keep it simple. And it is nothing more than what it seems to be. It doesn't take a great explanation. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much.